with their father at the controls. They're now flying some of the same air shows as their father did, and they appear at air shows across Western Canada and the United States. They love demonstrating the airplanes to salute and remember what our servicemen have been done and are doing for our country. And they still have veterans in both Canada and the United States telling them their stories. Both folks that were Harvard pilots or Texan drivers. And the smoke is on. If you look off to our right, you will see Yellow Thunder tracking in. We're going to go back to the days of World War II. Watch closely now as they dive for airspeed. That smoke system trailing behind the aircraft so we can follow their maneuvers through the sky. Dave Watson is in the lead. Drew Watson is on the right wing as they arc up into that beautiful blue sky that we have here for you this afternoon. Over the top they go. It looks like they are literally tied together as they track through this very first opening formation Barnstormers loop. Folks, the trick of the lead pilot is to fly a very smooth profile so that his wingman can stay on him the entire time. Drew Watson, of course, is manipulating all of the controls, the rudder pedals, to make sure he stays in position. Now that wingman, that's the aircraft on the left, is not actually looking over his shoulder to stay in formation. He's picking a sight line across the front of the aircraft or the lead aircraft in order to stay in position, and he was looking out across his shoulder. He would see the airplane just wobbling up and down in the turbulence up there, and it would be almost impossible to stay in formation. All right, guys. Look at them coming in now, this time from our left, that's off to the west. This is going to be one of several photo opportunities for you. Get your cameras ready as they come by in another formation banana pass. And they split away at the eastern end of the field. That's Drew Watson. Follow the aircraft through the sky as he rolls the airplane upright on that 45-degree down line. He's going to pick up a lot of airspeed, but he's going to use that airspeed to go back up into the sky. He's going to go through about 5/8 of a loop before he rolls the aircraft upright once again. All right, kids, what figure do you see up there in the sky? That's right, it is the horizontal 8, or what we call in Airshow world, the Cuban 8. Now high and above us, Dave Watson, our lead pilot, is tracking in to perform for us the Hammerhead. Straight up into the sky he goes. He's going to hold the airplane on the vertical, and before he runs out of airspeed, he's going to kick in hard left rudder, and over the airplane goes. Dave has been flying since 1985. He learned to fly on the last Fleet Canuck with the Edmonton Flying Club. All but 20 hours in his logbook is on tail dragger aircraft. He has more time in his harbor than any other type of aircraft. He lives in Beaumont, Alberta with his wonderful wife, Caroline. David runs a business developing software and providing consulting services for the commercial architecture engineering industry. Okay, here comes Drew. Straight up into the sky he goes. He's going to let the airplane just float over the top, feeling 0 G. He looks up through the top of his canopy to pick up the ground and the horizon. The G's come up about 4 positive G's at the bottom of that great big Barnstormers loop. Well, folks, it's easy to split away. It's much harder to get back together again. So keep your eyes on Dave and Drew as they start to look for a point to rejoin in the formation. But first, here comes Dave Watson again, our lead pilot, diving down, using lots and lots of airspeed, because aerobatics is all about energy management. He's going to roll the airplane in a great big barrel roll. Just imagine a 45-gallon drum lying on its side, and Dave just flew his airplane right around the inside of that drum. For those of you in the beer garden, we call that the kegger roll, because John, kegers have more fun than six-packers. There's Dave. There's 1 to knife edge. There's 2 to inverted. There's 3 to knife edge again. And 4, a beautifully executed 4-point hesitation roll. Drew learned to fly on his brother's Harvard. Drew purchased his first airplane, which was a Fleet Canuck back in 2000, and obtained his private pilot license in his airplane in 2002. Drew is now an airline transport pilot. He purchased his Harvard in 2006. He lives in Panoka, Alberta with his wife Wendy, and they have 2 adult children. Drew is a consultant in the information technology market in the Edmonton region and acts as a relief pilot for an Alberta-based building manufacturer. All right, folks, this is going to be the formation rejoin. I had the wonderful opportunity to fly with the Watson brothers last summer, and it was my first experience formation flying. And as a private pilot, I've always been taught to stay away from airplanes. It is a little intimidating to be in the wing position, looking at this other great big yellow airplane, and you put your total trust in the pilot. The scariest thing in that flight, but I knew that they were experts, but I found it quite scary, was the rejoin, because the lead pilot is out there, and as Drew chases the lead pilot down, that airplane becomes bigger and bigger in the windscreen, and then just like that, as you see Drew doing right now, they just very gently, very slowly tuck back into formation. What do you think about Yellow Thunder so far, folks? Would you like to see some more? All right, your wishes are command. As Dave and Drew come in from our left this time, they're setting up for 2 formation barnstormer loops. That Dave and Drew Watson are flying today is known as the Harvard in Canada, but here in the United States it was known as the T6 Texan, or if it flew under Navy colors, it was known as the SMJ. It also had the nickname the Whirlaway. It was designed back in the 1930s, folks. Designed by North American Aviation and built in Canada under license by the Canadian Car and Foundry. Part of the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan, these aircraft were used to train pilots for the war effort in Europe. It was an effort that U.S. President Roosevelt called the Aerodrome of Democracy. Pilots would start on the Howland Tiger bombs or Fleet Finch, basic training airplanes, then graduated up to the Harvard like you see here this afternoon. And after training, pilots moved on to fighters like the P-51 Mustang, the Supermarine Spitfire, the Hawker Hurricane, or multi-engine aircraft, all with very, very few flight hours. You probably noticed, folks, that these aircraft make a unique sound. It's almost like a snapping sound as they fly by. That's actually the tips of the propellers reaching the speed of sound. So you're actually hearing miniature sonic booms. Never thought you'd experience that today, kid. All right, the smoke comes back on again, this time from our right. Again, Dave Watson is in the lead, Drew Watson on the wing. Let's see what they're going to do next. There you have a beautifully executed formation barrel roll. Folks, all the aircraft in the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan were printed bright yellow like these aircraft you see here today to make them easy to see. Obviously, there was no enemy aircraft in Canada, so secrecy was not really the key in the pilot training programs. The Harvard, or the T6, is powered by one giant Pratt & Whitney Wasp radial engine that generates 600 horsepower, has a maximum speed of 208 miles per hour at 5,000 feet, cruises at a very comfortable 145 miles per hour, and has a range of 730 miles. All right, folks, get your cameras cameras ready once again as Drew and Dave come in, this time from our left. A nice, beautiful banana pass. Yellow Thunder.
Yeah, it's gonna stick.
There's a couple of key differences between the Canadian Harvard and the US Texan. One of the most distinctive differences was the Canadians had an exhaust stack that ran the length of the fuselage.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And as a matter of fact, these aircraft that you see here has that exhaust stack. You know what that was for? Well, the designers up in Canada, knowing that a lot of the flight training was going to happen in those cold, dark winters, thought that they could borrow some of the heat off of the exhaust stack and inject it into the canopy to keep the pilots warm. Do you think it worked? Well, the jury's kind of out, but I saw someone shaking their head over there, and yeah, no, it didn't really work out well. They froze their butts off. All right, folks, you're going to want to have your cameras ready as Dave and Drew set up for the overhead brake to set up for their landing. This time coming in from the north, they're lining up with runway 22 out there. This is a pretty standard operation at Air Force bases across the nation. As aircraft come home, they'd overfly the airfield and then they would split away so that they could land individually. You can see the gear is popping out now. You know what, folks? They say if you can land a Harvard or a T6, you can land just about anything. And Dave and Drew are setting up right now for the hardest part of their performance, and that is the landing. Why is it so difficult, you might ask? Well, first and foremost, these aircraft obviously are tail dragger airplanes. Just imagine yourself driving down the freeway backwards at about 60 miles per hour. That's about what it's like to control these airplanes once they settle down onto the ground. They're very, very tricky. You need to keep your feet on the rudder pedals. That's how you steer an airplane. When it's on the ground, you got to be very careful about the crosswind components. If there's something coming, or if there's wind coming across the runway, it can push that tail right out from behind you, and then you're into a situation called a ground loop. So lots and lots of practice goes into these landings. As a matter of fact, folks who demonstrate P-51 Mustangs or some of those other war